Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of Sunday Unpacked. I'm Monica Wamsley, and I'm here with Pastor James on this
Hi.
nice Tuesday afternoon. How are
Yeah,
you doing?
I'm good. You?
I'm good. I'm good. It's a nice day outside, it looks like.
Not bad.
Not bad. And there's more activity in the school end of the building today than there has been
Yes,
in a couple months. And
there
so
is. So we can
it's,
tell it's not that far away.
yes, getting close. So I'm excited to talk about thriving spiritually as we connect with others. I think this is a really good topic. It's one that's important to me.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
and I think that how you introduced it Sunday was really cool. That just kind of to recap, we thrive in our lives by taking part in what God is doing in the world. That's our definition of thriving. And we can, uh, thriving spiritually helps us know what God is doing in the world. So I think that's really cool. You said the obvious kind of Sunday school answers to how do we thrive spiritually were pray and read the Bible.
Right,
That's
that's what we
your
always say, right? Those are the
always say.
standard
Yep.
answers that you give in Sunday school,
Yeah.
and you can always be right if you say that.
Right. Yes. And those are things that I think we're responsible for, like that we have the responsibility to
Yeah,
do that.
we do.
But there's also an element of connection there too. We need that connection and we need support. And your verse from Proverbs 27:17 really brought that home. But you brought up Genesis, or maybe you didn't, but it
Well, I
was in my
did, but it
head.
was just, and I didn't read it. I just mentioned it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think it's important to note, and my brain just went, wow, when you were talking about that. Genesis 1, it's God did this, God did this, God did this, and he said it was good. God did this, and it was good. God did this, and it was very good, which was when he
right,
created man.
right,
But then in chapter 2, he says something is not good, and that was that man was alone.
right.
And so Genesis 2:18, the Lord God said, "It is not good for the man to be alone." Then He created the woman. I just think that's great. That the world is good, but humans are good, but we're not necessarily independent creatures like we're
Right. We are
taught to be.
made to have connections with
Yeah,
God and with each other.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I just love that. So self-reliance is not good. We were made to bear the image, to rely on God for a lot of things. Let's talk a little bit about individuality versus independence in our walk with God. I know I've
Yeah, I
struggled
talked
with this, trying to find the difference there. Yeah,
right. And
go ahead.
and I talked about how we are created as individuals, right? I mean,
Mm.
we are I
Yeah,
only know me personally, right? I mean, I know some
right,
about you, but I don't know your every thought. I don't know what you're
right.
feeling. I can know some that you describe, some that I read on your face, things like that, but I can't read your mind, and nobody can read my mind. And so, yes, we are individuals with a body, with the mind, with the soul, but that doesn't mean that we are always independent agents in everything that we do. So, God has called us to this relationship with other human beings. So, yes, I'm independent and I have certain responsibilities about my relationship with God and my relationships with other people. But as I said, it just slightly different, but it means the same thing. I'm responsible for those things, but I'm not alone in those things. And so we are individuals, but we weren't made to be just sort of, like billiard balls knocking against one another and
Yes,
bouncing off and going at opposite directions. We're made for connection and we're made to be together. So we need we need to acknowledge our individuality, but we also need to acknowledge our need for community. Both those things.
right. And I think we've talked about this before. even when we look at the writers of the New Testament, we see their personalities all over the
Correct.
place.
Correct.
Our DNA cannot be 100% matched to someone else. And we know that God knew what he was doing when he knit us together in our mother's wombs. So
Yes.
he made us the way we are for reasons. Some of it is to bring glory to him. Others are so that we will rely on him and rely on others. I think any of our deficits that we have or any of our weaknesses in our individual makeup is because someone else can provide or help us with that lack. And same, we are going to be stronger in some areas where we can help someone who is lacking in
Right. That's why it's good when we're
whatever.
in community, when we're
Yeah,
the church, that not everybody is exactly the same. We don't need
right,
everybody to be the same. We need a
right,
variety of gifts and a variety of experiences, a variety of
exactly.
backgrounds, because
Yeah,
we help one another in that way.
yeah. So, do you want to go ahead and read Proverbs 27:17
It's
for
just
us?
short.
And
As iron
it's very
sharpens
short.
iron, so one person sharpens another. Simple as that.
It is so simple, yet so deep, so
Yeah, it's really
profound.
important.
How does this verse kind of, we already said, how does it reflect the importance of community?
Well, we make each other better. I mean, I think that's the
Hmm.
idea that even though we're human beings, so in essence we're of the same substance, if you will, like iron and iron, we still improve one another spiritually and in other ways. I don't think this is strictly talking about spirituality and that's it, but it is true for our spirituality that we can help one another and help one another grow. So that's why community is so important. That's where we come in contact with each other.
All right. So, besides our spirituality, what are some other areas of life that community or connection positively impacts our growth
Well, I
or
think
our
there's
success?
lots of them, right? I mean, people might
Hmm.
talk about having a workout partner that they know is going to help sort of hold them accountable, is going to, they're going to show up and you're going to be missed if you're not there. We might
Right.
think about recovery ministries, right? Recovery
Yes.
ministry is all about helping each other through
Yes.
really difficult things. And it's been shown. I mean, I think the data shows that partnership, that community in recovery ministry is hugely important in its success because on our own, we're not always very good at that. So we need
Yeah.
some people to help us and hold us accountable. We could talk about, different teams that we're on, whether it's, something we're doing in ministry or whether it's something we're doing in the community. I mean, all
Yeah.
those things I think point to the fact that we need that partnership with other people.
Yeah. Like marriage, family, work,
Absolutely.
school,
Right.
sports, any of that. And I just listed on my notes as I was just refreshing my mind. Transparency, accountability, clarity, knowledge, interpretation, all of those
All good
things
words. Yeah.
we can feed off of each other, give to each other, and yeah. So your last two sermons, so with those in mind, prayer and getting into the Word, how does connection specifically influence growth in these areas? How does praying with someone, how does that grow our faith? How does getting in Scripture, how does that grow our faith with someone?
Well, I think scripture is the easier one in some ways, just because most of us come to scripture and there's stuff we don't understand, right? And it would be like sometimes we're reading on our own and we think, well, it would be really nice if I had someone I could ask that question. And we can sometimes do that on our own because we have study resources available to us, which is good. But sometimes what we really need is to talk through something, not just I have this question, I need a factual answer to it. But okay, I'm struggling to decide what this means for me in my setting, in my culture, in my time. So I really need someone to think
Yeah.
through that together. And so I think it's really clear that in Bible study, it is invaluable to have a group of people to talk about some things with. But prayer is there too, because, it's easy for us in some ways to get stuck in patterns of prayer. Now, patterns of prayer aren't necessarily or inherently bad, but we might get stuck in some things to the exclusion of others. And then when we hear, if we're in a group praying and we hear someone pray, it's like, oh, I haven't even thought to pray about that. That never even crossed my mind. Or just the character of a person can be revealed. Sometimes we get to know each other better through praying together. And certainly it's always a blessing when someone prays for us, right? I mean, and that's
Mm-hmm.
part of this too. So I think on
Yes.
lots of different levels, we grow better, as I said, when we grow together in terms of the things we've already talked about, Bible study and prayer, and we could probably name some others as well, but it's certainly
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I really like that we grow best when we grow together. I think that was really good catchphrase for or I don't know what you
Bottom
call it, your
line,
point.
whatever.
Bottom
Yeah.
line. um, how does Ecclesiastes 4, 9, and 10 support this thought?
So it's a similar approach. Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up, but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. So it uses a work metaphor, right? That, man, it's a lot easier to get a job done if you've got some help. And most of us have experienced that. Even though I began with that sort of thing we've all said, if you want something done right, do it yourself. There's truth in that, but there's a lot of things we can't do ourselves because,
Yeah.
first of all, we don't have it within us. We need someone else to do the same thing we're doing, but it's too much on our own. Or we need the expertise of other people that we just don't have. I mean, that's why we have teams of people in most workplaces. Not everybody's roles are the same because we need people to do different jobs that maybe only they know how to do. So that work metaphor, I think, comes over into our spirituality that, yeah, there's things that come along in life that are really hard, and to try to handle it and deal with it all on our own is overwhelming. And we need someone to walk with us. We may need someone to help us up. It's just too much on our own. So, yeah, I think the message is very similar.
Yeah. Um, you mentioned in your sermon that if we get knocked down, and that's even in the verse, if someone falls down, the other can help them up, or we have someone to do the heavy lifting when life is rough. Have you ever been there? What kind of human connections have helped you
Yeah,
personally?
I think, by the time you get to mid 50s, yeah, that's
Yeah,
happened somewhere along
and
the way, unless
yes,
you're a
for sure.
very fortunate person. And I think that
Right.
person's pretty rare. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely happened. And whether it's, a health issue, a family issue, a ministry issue, I mean, we all go through that stuff. So yeah, for me, there's definitely been people. I mean, I'm fortunate to have a spouse that I can depend on. Hopefully, she can depend on
Hmm.
me. We share our
Yeah.
faith, share our approach to life. So always, Leanne's always the person that I go to first. But
Right.
also my folks, my parents, who have always been supportive and helpful and present when I've needed something. And then I have a minister friend that, we've known each other since seminary, so we've walked through most of our ministry careers together. And, he's been through stuff, I've been through stuff,
Yeah.
and we've talked about almost all of it, and
Yeah.
we all need those people.
Were there specific people around when you were struggling with Lauren being in the NICU?
Well, that minister friend actually drove,
Okay.
I don't know how far, but it would have been at least a couple hours just to be with us during that time.
Yeah.
We just need just to come over and
Yeah.
we had prayer, but just to stand and be part of
Yeah.
what was going on. So, yeah, I mean, we definitely have had that, and of course,
Yeah.
family was right there. But yeah, it was
Right.
good to
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
some others.
That's so good. Are these the same people who've been with you to celebrate victories and the blessings that were hard fought for and
Yeah,
things like
pretty
that?
much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I think those are the same group of people. I mean, occasionally there might, depending on the success or victory, that might,
Yeah.
if it's more
Yeah.
church related, then it could be, fellow
Yeah.
church leaders, whether it's staff or
Yeah.
elders or what have you. But yeah, a lot of those same people.
I think that, and you can let me know if you agree with me, that those connections, they make life celebrations just that much sweeter,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
when you can worship God and thank God together for the wonderful parts and for getting through the rough time. When you come out on the other side, when you've got that person that you're able to connect with and thank God for,
Right.
and thank God with.
Yeah, I mean, especially when it's been maybe an ongoing thing, and
Yeah,
like this person has been praying for you all along, or you're praying for the same thing together,
right. Yeah,
and then you get through it. um I mean, anyone can celebrate with you, but the people who have been through the hard time with you may be the ones that make it
yeah. That much
bring the
sweeter.
most joy.
Yeah,
Yeah, right, exactly.
yeah. Um, do you think we can have this in the church community, in the body of believers that we
I do,
worship with weekly?
I do, and I think sometimes it's easier and sometimes it's harder, right? And
Yeah, I agree.
sometimes ministry can present its own special, twist on that, if you will, because it's a different role in some ways. But I hope that we do have that. But it takes time to develop too. I mean, in some ways, our church is a very different church than when I came 12 years ago, because there's a lot of people, especially in our second service, that weren't here then.
Yeah, right.
And so you develop those relationships over time. And so for some of those people, they're still figuring out who the pastor is, and is
Right.
he really
Yeah.
someone I can trust? Is he
Yeah.
someone who, if I go to with a real struggle in life, is he gonna be like, well, what's wrong with you? Or is he gonna say, hey, let's walk through this together? And
Yeah.
I would like to think they would know, but that comes only with time and trust and
Yeah.
proving who you are. So,
Well, and I can say that I have never felt that from you or Leanne.
well, I
Like,
hope not. That's
I
certainly
mean,
our goal.
you guys have walked with me through some pretty ugly times in the last probably 8 years, 10 years or so. It's been good. I just want to talk about something that happened at the church recently that you and I and Leanne all talked about, but I think it's fun to share. Um, we had a recent baptism that was different than any I've seen here at the church. I mean, that front row
Oh,
was
yeah, right. Yeah.
full of a cheering section that was just so excited to see their friend come to baptism. And it wasn't just Quincy. These kids were cheering for Quincy's mom
Right.
and
And
Jeff. It
some
was
people
just so
might have
cool.
some some people might have, if they didn't know, sort of the setting or whatever, if it was
Yeah.
unfamiliar, might have said, "Well, that seems a little raucous for a baptism." Like,
Oh
you
my
know,
gosh. But it was so
but
exciting.
right,
Yeah.
it was. And to see people that excited about faith and
Well,
that excited
and
about a
yeah.
decision to follow Jesus and excited about
Yeah.
friendship, and
Yeah.
um it was a blessing, I think, to see
It
that and to
was
hear
it was
that.
so cool. Yeah. Um
And it was
I
different
just
from anything I'd ever been through before. So
yeah,
that was
I
nice.
mean, yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I agree.
I really enjoyed being there for that one. So, and I think that um we have a responsibility to those who were baptized to offer areas of where we can be there for them.
Right.
And that's
Yep.
and they have a responsibility too to continue to grow in their faith. So, is this biblical? I think you mentioned in Acts 2 that there was some examples set for us on how the early church interacted and made connections, yet grew
Yeah, I mean, it's right
individually as well.
after the very start of the church. So what do? Well, they start meeting in each other's homes. They provide resources for those who are, struggling financially. They're worshiping together. They're having communion together. I mean, they recognize that if we're going to do this, we cannot do this in
Yeah.
isolation. It's got to be
Yeah.
done in community. I mean, that's the word. And I think, does our community have to look exactly like the community they had that's 2,000 years ago in a different culture,
That
different
probably won't.
language? Right, it won't. And different
Yeah.
time in the church. I mean, all those things. So
Yeah.
no, it doesn't have to be exactly the same, but are there lessons to learn from, oh, we actually need to be in the same room together at times. And yes, if someone is really in need, then the church needs to respond to that. So yeah, I think there are lessons to learn even from the very earliest church that saw those really deep needs for connection.
Yeah. I think that watching that baptism, it's one of that one and the baptism I was at before that just really
Right.
put on me a responsibility for community, for as a mature Christian. Of course, that's in my heart what I've always wanted to do anyway is teach or preach, but it just really renewed my sense of responsibility to connect, whether it's something that comes easily to me or not. And I think that's something that we have to remember as we encourage others to become more open to share.
Right.
Um,
And I think the
yeah,
the key there is that we need to create opportunities for people to connect with others and with us. We can't
yeah,
force it, right? I mean, we can't
right,
make
right.
somebody connect,
Yeah,
but we want to make it available and encourage people in that direction because we know that we need it. And so
yeah,
we want to make it available, encourage it, even though, again, it's not our goal, desire, or even ability to control how people grow in their faith in
right.
any way.
So, what are some realistic expectations and responsibilities with connecting with other believers? Is it possible to live a connected life and not get hurt or to not be vulnerable? It's going to cost us something, isn't it?
It is. And, as I said Sunday, I would love to say, maybe if you've been hurt or you're concerned about it, that I can guarantee you that's not going to happen because of this. Well, that's not real, right? That's like saying, well, I know you were hurt in your first marriage, but if you get married to this person over here, I'm sure it won't happen again. Well, I'm not in control of that, right? So I don't want to make guarantees to anybody. What I would say is, yeah, we can't make guarantees in any relationship that we won't be hurt. But boy, what is life without connection with other people? I mean, the price is too high to pay for safety. Sometimes safety is not really what we need. What we need is connection. And so I would say, but sometimes we need to start slow, right? We need to allow people to earn our trust and we need to earn their trust over time. And so that means we don't necessarily jump in with both feet to every relationship, just assuming that everybody we ever meet in church is dependable, safe, all those good
Right.
words that we might put there, and let those things develop over time. Let them show you what their character is like. And when you recognize that, then you can make those connections that you really need. So I wish they were guarantees. That's not
Yeah.
the way life works. But I think relationships are worth pursuing.
Yes. Um, I think empathy and compassion,
Yes.
humility
Humility
and
is huge in that.
grace. Um, I think we need to speak truth, but I think that truth, when it's not done or not spoken in love and with compassion and with empathy, is really just, I guess, like a weapon of judgment, I guess. I mean, in my mind, if
Right.
we don't
Truth
speak
can
the
be used
truth
as a
in love.
hammer, right? And it doesn't
Yes,
have to be
yeah,
wielded in that kind of way.
right. And it shouldn't be. Yeah, I don't think. I mean,
Right.
I don't know.
Not in,
Jesus,
well, not at all, but especially not in community,
yeah,
right? If we're in community,
right.
if we take a
Yeah.
hammer to it, what's going
It's
to
you're
happen?
destroying it. Yeah.
Right.
And I think the only times Jesus ever was harsh was when he was with the religious people that were should have known the prophecies and should have recognized him and should have been
You know, the
leading
times that
with the love.
Jesus
Yeah.
used a hammer, it was usually with hypocrisy, right?
Yes, yes. Uh-huh.
Not with those who were actually hurting or,
Vulnerable.
right.
Yeah.
That's not when Jesus
Right.
spoke as harshly as occasionally he
Right.
does. And even then,
Yeah.
it's not, like sometimes we do now. So,
Yeah. I know I've been guilty of it before, and it's a an ugly side of me that when I've seen it, I'm so
most of
I
us have
just
done it.
yes. It's very humbling when you see that in yourself and
Right.
very yeah. So as we work towards being involved in what God is doing in the world around us, how can we prepare ourselves to both give and receive in community?
Right. And I think we can sort of, if that's a continuum, sometimes we can move to one end or the other depending on the crowd, right? And our role in the crowd. And sometimes if we are leading, then we feel like, well, my job is to give. My job is to lead everybody else to this place. And maybe that is our role, but that doesn't mean to the exclusion of, well, you know what? I might learn something from somebody else in this room. I'm not, just because I'm leading does not mean I'm the person that has all the right answers or all the answers, period, for everyone else in the room. It really should be. I mean, if it is true community, I may be facilitating, leading the discussion, but there's going to be people who say things, ask questions that can be just as insightful, maybe more so than me. I may be prepared to lead the discussion, but it may be that the group takes us in places that are the most beneficial. So I think it's easy for leaders sometimes to err on the side of I've got to have all the right answers to make sure everything goes
Yeah.
smoothly, and that's just not the way this should work. On the other hand, we also have to have you already said the word, the humility to be able to learn from someone who has gone further down the road than
Right.
we have, and to learn from their example, learn from their words. So, but also to speak when there is something we have found to be true and to be unafraid to offer that. So I think, wherever we are in this, we've got something within us to offer. As I said Sunday, even if it's just the right question.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I found so many times in Bible studies that I've got things prepared and ready to go, but the right question at the right time may lead to the discussion that really needed to take place more than everything I had planned.
Prepared. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I always encourage, that's part of why we keep asking for questions is
Yes.
because we've thought about a lot of this stuff, but people may point to things that are not clear. People may point to things that lots of others are wondering about. So we really do want those questions as people think about the topics we're sort of working through.
Yeah. And speaking of that, we do have a question that was sent in on a Connect card, and we're going to get to that in just a couple minutes. But I want to just address what it really is when we're growing in God's Word, when we're growing and studying together. It's called discipleship. We're discipling one another, getting to know Christ and his ways better.
Yeah, I
Am
mean,
I
a
correct? Yeah.
disciple the word just means a follower or a learner. So what we're saying is if we're disciples, we're learning from Christ. Now, it may be that we're teaching each other about Christ, and that's how we're becoming better disciples. So it's going to be through God's word. It's going to be through prayer. It's going to be through some of these times that we have together. But yeah, And that goes back again to that, yes, I'm responsible for my own discipleship, but I'm not alone in my own discipleship, right? So I got decisions to make, commitments to follow through on, but
Yes.
hopefully I've got some folks around me to walk with me
Yes.
in that.
Because iron sharpens iron,
Exactly.
and we can sharpen one another and deepen our knowledge, deepen our study. We do want to see growth in each other and in our church as a whole, in our church community. You mentioned a few opportunities for growth and study that are available at TCC. Do you want to go over those real quick? And is
Right.
it just for TCC members? I know our Bible study is not on Monday
Yeah,
nights.
I don't know of anything we offer to help people grow in their faith that is restricted to TCC members or TCC attenders or TCC anything. I mean, virtually everything we do is open to whoever would like to come, and we welcome folks. And I think that's true for anything that we would talk about on our list today. Like, we do have two Bible studies on Monday morning, and obviously they're for folks who most people don't work that are in those studies. But those are pretty. I mean, like the men, we just go through Scripture and talk it through, and we've been in Luke for a long time. The ladies have done all kinds of different studies, so those are both really good groups. And even if you feel like, well, I'm younger than some of those people, I guarantee you're going to learn from some of those people. So
Yeah.
if you've got some time on Monday morning at 9, there's a group for men, group for women, and then you've got a group that you're leading beginning this next Monday night on the 10th. And now I said Sunday we had almost 50. Well, now we've got 60 women that are involved, and not just women. Some of them are,
We've
older
got,
elementary, junior high, high school.
yes.
So
I'm
I think that's
excited.
really encouraging. And
Yeah.
again, is that just for TCC people? No, it's anybody who would like to come. You don't even have to be somebody who comes to church here on Sunday. You
No,
go to
there
another
are
church and they'd
several.
be welcome.
Yeah. There are several who just know someone
Right.
on Facebook who's going and saw, and they're, I mean, like, I don't recognize a lot of the names, honestly, and I am so excited. And I know we have other churches in the area represented, and we are not trying to take anybody's. We want you to
Absolutely
worship
not.
where you worship, but if you
Right.
want
I
to
mean,
grow with us and study with us, hey, that's what it's about. We all follow Jesus Christ, and if we can help each other grow, I don't care
yeah.
what name is
We
on your,
don't see our local
yeah,
churches as the competition. We see them as
not at all.
teammates. So,
We want to grow
um,
together. Yeah.
right. So
Because
I think
it
that's a
helps
great
our
response.
community. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I would encourage women who are looking for a Bible study, excuse me, to make the decision to come to that. That's still open. So you're welcome to pick up the book and register. And then our men get together for a breakfast every month, usually the first Saturday of the month at 7 a.m. And that's had a really good response. And as I mentioned Sunday, we've had other preachers, we've had men in our church, we've had men in the community who are believers who go to other churches come in, and it's just been really nice to hear. A lot of them have just told their story, and I've learned stuff about guys I've known for over a decade because they came in and told their story. And I think that's a really good thing and a way to help other guys see there are a
Yeah.
lot of paths into
Yeah.
discipleship. Not everybody's path looks just the same, and that's just
Exactly. Yeah.
fine, you know? Um, and I think that's an encouragement to guys that may feel like, well, I'm not like, they hear from the preachers a lot. That's not my life. That's fine.
Doesn't
It
matter.
doesn't have to be your life.
Right.
There are guys who are strong believers who are not in ministry who have a very different path toward discipleship. So I would encourage the guys to go to that and spend some time. We always have time, around the meal for connection and just to
Mm-hmm.
chat, and you hear all kinds of
Yeah.
conversations going on. And anyway, I think all those are good opportunities to grow in faith. So
Yeah.
whichever fits, we invite you to be part
Right.
of.
Well, and we have student
Sure.
ministry and a kids ministry.
Absolutely.
The kids ministry does all kinds of things, well, so does the student
They
ministry.
both do. Right.
And, I know in the student ministry, they have offshoot studies once in a while, like they were doing The
They do.
Chosen. They've done a book now and then. Usually during the summer, they'll do a book together and meet or something. They're always trying to connect more and get in the Word. So now, to our Connect Card question, why doesn't TCC offer opportunities to study together? There seems to be a men's only option and a women's only option, but nothing else. And so,
Yeah,
would
and this
you
is a
like
fair
to address
question.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a good question. And I mean there are some crossover things like in student ministry for sure, but like our couples conference we had this spring was obviously for couples, so it was men and women in the
Yeah.
room together. And we've had some things like this. Now, this might point to, and of course, this is all we have from the question, but maybe part of the question is why don't we have a more sort of traditional small group kind of ministry? And lots of churches do this, and we've attempted it in the past,
Yeah.
where we have various groups meeting throughout the week at different times, and maybe some of them are older folks, and some of them are folks with kids, and the whole family comes and maybe meets in a home, maybe meets at church. That's good stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. We have attempted to organize that sort of more traditional way of doing this multiple times over the past 10 years. And to be candid about it all, it just hasn't been as successful as we've wanted it to be. And I think that has something to do with very busy schedules that people have, especially when it comes to kids getting to practices and games and all kinds of things that are
Yeah.
going on. And so it seems like over the past couple of years that our elders and staff have found that if we can have opportunities for either the women to meet or the men to meet, it seems easier for people to make that work with their schedule. And that's when we've gone down that path. Now, is that the right way to do it? I don't know that there's a right way to do it. We've just tried to do what would engage the most people and lead them the best way. So, I mean, we are certainly not opposed to, having other groups, but trying to organize a whole program and make that work has just not been as effective as we've wanted to do it. So we've tried to think, okay, in our community, in our church, at this moment in time,
Mhm.
what will work best? And so we've gone sort of down the path that I talked about a few minutes ago.
If someone wanted to get a group together, well, number one, what kind of resources would we have to offer them if they could get 6 to 10 people together that would meet monthly
Sure.
at a
And I would encourage
specific
that,
place and time?
right?
And if they want to do that, do we have any, would we say no?
Oh,
That's the
no,
thing.
no. I mean,
No, I
that's
mean
not,
anybody. Yeah, I thought anybody that wants to create a small group, the options are endless for the curriculum that we have available
right. I
at
would
the
start
church.
with Right Now Media because
Yeah.
that's available to everyone in the church. You can go
Mhm.
on the church website, sign up for it there. There's all kinds of video curriculum that's available. And the nice thing about that is maybe you're sort of new to all this, but you're thinking, man, we've got these two other couples and we're all friends and we would really like to get together, but none of us are capable of like teaching the group. That's fair. Um, those Right Now Media videos are the perfect place to start because you've got someone who is a really
Guiding
good and
you. Yeah.
engaging teacher online, that you can watch the video and then discuss it. And I think that's a really accessible way to get started with something like this. So you don't have to have
Yes.
tons of knowledge to be able to jump in. You've got some help with those videos, and then there's questions that are associated with them and things like that. So I would say jump into that. You can do that at your TV at home, right? I mean, you don't
Yes,
have to have some special equipment or anything like that. But if there are folks that are putting together a group and they would like a little help, I think any of us on staff would be willing
definitely.
to answer questions, assist, point to resources. You can do that. I can do that. Neil and Leanne are both capable of doing that as well. So, what I'm saying is, don't be afraid to reach out if you need some help with that. We'd be glad to
Yeah,
talk that through and help you in any way that we.
right. And you never know, may be more people that want a small group that, would send something in after this episode airs, and we could try and make those connections for you.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, we didn't talk about after, and I don't know if this is something we absolutely want to talk about, but I think it's important to get out there. Following the couples conference, John and we're doing a trial run
yeah.
with two married couples from the church, called the Marriage Course. So there are some things behind the scenes that we're working on that people
Yes.
may not be 100% aware of, because we want to see how it pans out. We want to get their evaluations of it. Was it a good program? What did they like? What did they dislike? Was it better when we held it at the church or in our home? How big a group should we have? Things like that. So just because we don't have specific organized small groups at this time doesn't mean there are not other things going on,
Right. Or that there couldn't be in the
or
future.
that there couldn't be in the future, because we are open to whatever ministry needs
Yep.
arise.
Yep.
So with that in mind, what is next? What do we have to look forward to next
Well,
week on
so we
Sunday?
finish up this series this Sunday, and we're talking about a tough topic because we're talking about sin, and
Uh,
when we think about thriving spiritually, that really is incompatible with the sin that's in our lives. So I want us to think about, okay, how does that sin impact us? And we're not just talking about eternal judgment here. That's not exactly where I'm going with this. But if we want to thrive spiritually with God right now, sin is a barrier to that relationship. And so, what do we do with that? And so, we'll talk about that this Sunday, and that'll be the end of the Thrive Spiritually series, and then we'll move on to something else after that.
all right. So we have some interesting conversations to look forward
We
to
do.
next
That's
week,
right.
I bet. All right. So right now, I want you to jot down this phone number so you can send us a text, or to 404-565-4498, or you can email us at questions@taylorvillechristian.com. Or, like our question this week, you can fill out a Connect card and hand it in the offering tray. Give it to either one of us after church as we're standing, greeting. We would love to hear from you and hear what your thoughts are on connecting at TCC and with our community. All right, that's all we have today. Hope to hear from you soon. Thanks.
Bye.